I was able to check out A Wonderful Day in the Neighborhood. Tom
Beautiful.
Hanks. Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. It's wonderful as well. And Tom Hanks, man. I mean, we've seen all the trailers leading up to this. We've seen, um, Tom Hanks and the Oscar buzz around this performance, and it's been some festivals, gotten some really good feedback. But I was a little surprised because I was like, I don't know how compelling is the main character. But then when you get in and you really start watching this movie, and I didn't do any background going into it, I wanted to kind of go in blind, finding out that it's based on this article, I believe it was a 1998 article, profiling Mr. Rogers. It actually turned out to be more about the author of the article and the transformation he had with his friendship with Mr. Rogers. It made a lot more sense because I think this movie is really good, but I think it's really good because Matthew Rhys and Tom Hanks are really good in this movie. How did you feel about A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood?
Yeah, I agree. I think this A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood is good because it's not actually really about Fred Rogers. If you want to get that, you can go watch Won't You Be My Neighbor, a documentary from last year that actually a lot of people saw. Grossed like over $10 million at the box office. But yeah, this is a little different. And it's loosely based off that Tom Junot 1998 Esquire article, but they did a lot of creative liberties with the Lloyd Vogel character that Matthew Rhys plays. And yeah, it's funny because when this ended, I did not have like an amazing like warm reaction to the movie. I didn't like fall in love with it or anything, but I was like, oh yeah, that was good. I see what you guys did there. I saw the structural choices you made. I understand these. I respect these choices. Yeah, I didn't love it that much. But Hanks is awesome, and I'm a big Matthew Rhys fan. I don't know. I just don't think I connected with the family drama that is kind of essential to the whole story. Of course, Vogel's issues, but it's still quite good. Marielle Heller, she did Can You Ever Forgive Me last year, and Melissa McCarthy, a movie I liked a lot. I like that one more than this, but I think this is I think what I think this makes this a little more special is how they structure this in like the framing of one episode of Mr. Rogers' show, and those visual cues are obviously very obvious. But I think that was a really cool way to tell the story. But what was your favorite part about it?
I really like the performances. Rhys. Hanks is the one that gets all the shine. Certainly as Mr. Rogers. He's probably got the meteor. I don't know even know about meteor. He just has the more lauded figure. But Matthew Rhys and this like broken guy who has all this like family trauma and things that he's working through or maybe not working through at the time. Kind of using his work as this vehicle to avoid addressing his own issues and to escape the parts about his life he doesn't feel totally great about or confident about. I thought really effectively set up the effect and the impact that Mr. Rogers had on people, and really what the point of the movie was. Talking about this person who, as Matthew Rhys' character describes him, a modern day saint in a lot of ways. I also think what it did really well is it used Mr. Rogers' personality, which is very soft, very warm. And it gives that warm feeling, like you talked about. The framing of the show was already in this, like these figurines and these model cities for like the intercut parts, like the transitioning from one scene to another type scenes. So it kind of puts you or anyone that watched Mr. Rogers back into this like, oh, I'm watching another episode of Mr. Rogers. But then it kind of gives a lot of space, like in the scenes where Hanks and Rhys are talking about their issues. Rhys opening up to Mr. Rogers about pain with his father and things like that. They really let those moments sit and they really chew on those a little bit. And I think that really allows the viewer to have their own internal dialogue, their own internal experience as Rhys is as the main character, is kind of like the avatar for that. And there's that scene near the end. I can't recall quite exactly like how it went down, but I think where where they're in the diner, right? And Mr. Rogers is asking, the writer to do an exercise with him and think about
Mm.
all the people that got you here and whatnot. And it really lets you chew on that moment. As the viewer, I mean, I know in my theater there was only a couple people, but I think that I heard a couple sniffles, people really, I think, reflecting in that moment. And it challenges you to really step into the movie with Mr. Rogers in that moment. It's like a bit surreal. The people in the diner kind of are also going through that moment, and it goes right back to normal once he's done. But I think that's a really effective scene to not only portray what the movie is going for, but then allow the viewer, the audience, to really feel, I think, what that impact of being with Mr. Rogers was like. How did you feel about that scene, though? I think I've heard some mixed reviews. What?
Yeah, I like that scene. That's good.
Yeah.
Um, you notice the people in the diner also be quiet, and then like you get it's a fourth wall break,
Yeah.
and didn't really expect it, so that was cool. Yeah, I think the things that I thought were less special was a lot of stuff between Reese and Chris Cooper, his dad, his estranged dad.
Yeah.
Um,
Plays a
and
good scumbag, Chris Cooper.
yeah, and I like Chris Cooper a lot. He's obviously awesome, but I wanted more of the convos between Vogel and Rogers, because when Fred would like deconstruct Lloyd really kindly, softly,
Yeah.
the way he would twist questions and evade things and ask his own. Like it really captured that like Rogers ethos in an important way. Yet you never end up hearing Lloyd getting his questions answered. The movie's ultimately about Lloyd. And again, like structurally, I like that. I just kind of wish we could have got a little bit more of that twist. But ultimately, it's it's just a really sweet movie with a pretty easy to grasp message. So it's hard to be too critical, I think, of the end result.
So, this is an interesting movie, right? Because there's been a lot of award nomination buzz around this, and I think it's a really good movie. But we've also seen a lot of really good movies this year. You more than me. Do you think that this is worthy of nominations for Best Picture, maybe acting nominations?
I don't think Best Picture is going to happen, to be honest. I think this is not going to get too many. I think the leading nomination would be a supporting actor for Tom Hanks. But that also is by no means a lock, because, as you've said, that is a stacked field of things we've seen. Not much beyond Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but we know we have Anthony Hopkins coming, The Two Popes, John Lithgow and Bombshell, Pacino and Pesci in Irishman, Jamie Foxx in Just Mercy, as well as Chalamet in Little Women. So that's a lot. And Hanks won 2 Best Actors basically in a row and hasn't been really nominated at all in the past few years. Nothing for Sully or Captain Phillips, he's almost like the guy version of Meryl Streep in that sense.
Yeah.
Where we've moved past Hanks in a certain sense to award other people. So then again, this movie isn't a biopic, but it's a biopic-y-esque performance. And that's obviously awards bait in and of itself. I don't think he has any chance to win, but I wouldn't be shocked, especially like I said before with Waves. I think Sterling K. Brown is probably going to slip out of the field. So he's probably a safe choice that people will check, for like, oh, here's my 4th pick, my 5th pick. Yeah, Hanks. Hanks was really good as Mr. Rogers. Sure. But yeah, I don't think Best Picture is going to happen, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think Best Picture is either. I could see Hanks getting the nomination, just as like a legacy one, but he said that I don't think most of them are going to be like happy about who got left off. It's just too much. But I think that this is a nice movie, and it kind of goes into Hanks's filmography as I think probably one of his strongest, just like embodiments of a character. You know, Captain Phillips, he also is pretty good, especially in the trauma of the character. But yeah, I wanted to follow up with you and see, like, Hanks. Obviously, he's a legend. He hasn't been nominated in a while. What is your favorite Hanks performance, though?
I was thinking about this before, and I don't think I ever came up with anything to myself. um,
It's tough.
Not Forrest Gump. Shit. I really like Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, he's really good in that.
I don't think anyone would say that's his best one, but I
Castaway.
really enjoy that. No, but a good choice. Just a lot of good choices. You said Big, not for me, but Sleepless in Seattle, not for me, but Captain Phillips and Sully, no. Yeah, he's always good. To be honest, Da Vinci Code isn't any good. Angel Demons isn't any good. I always really liked those movies, though. I thought they were really interesting galaxy brain premises from Dan Brown. So I kind of liked him as Robert Langdon, even though those aren't good movies.
He actually, as Langdon, is pretty good. I wouldn't knock you too much for that one, especially I think the earlier in that trilogy it is, the better, for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'd probably go Saving Private Ryan for my favorite performance. And it's hard to like pick a vocal performance, but he is really good as Woody in Toy Story. Just
I agree,
constantly killing it every time he's in that role. So yeah, Hanks, man. I mean, it's too bad he probably won't get the nom, or he probably won't win for this, because I think he's really good, or might not even get the nom. But still, a good feather to put in his filmography. Any last thoughts on A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood?
I think it was at 13 million. Did pretty solid for the scale of this movie. I think it's only like a $25 million budget. So this would be a nice little hefty W for the studio. And Marielle Heller, this is two really quick in a row. One of the more interesting and prolific female directors right now, which again certainly speaks to the how much more work needs to be done, that simply by releasing movies frequently like she does and Greta Gerwig does, they just almost by default become the top of their class at the moment. But she's a really interesting filmmaker, and I'm really curious to see what she does next.